Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Great People TV with me, Ben Ibrahim, formerly known as Sunday Learnings with Ben Ibrahim. Today, the topic is leadership, and I have a very interesting guest to speak about this very, very charismatic topic that we all love. So who's the guest, you might ask? Let's find out and knock on the door. Safety first, of course. Dato Sri, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Can I come into your house and maybe chat about leadership for a little bit?
Sure. You're most welcome.
Thank you, sir. You're so hospitable. Let's roll back the years a little bit. You studied industrial economics, the University of Nottingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Now, you grew up obviously in politics.
Yes.
And you studied more of something more aligned to business. When you studied that degree, what were your aspirations then? Was it always politics, or you probably thought about something else?
When I studied industrial economics, I wanted to go into the corporate field, you know. And although I had this passion for politics, but I never thought that I would enter politics at such an early age. I wanted to have a career first. I wanted to have a professional qualification, if you like, and something under my belt before I entered politics. But that was my plan, but God's plan was something else. So when my father died in 1976, I was not even 23 years old then. Wow. I had to make this crucial decision. I was at a crossroad of my life. Do I take the plunge or do I wait? My original plan was to wait because I thought I needed a bit more time, I needed more experience, more maturity before I could enter the rough and tumble world of politics. But then there was this opportunity. Do I take it or do I not? Do I wait? Eventually I decided to take the plunge.
So back then, what were your ambitions as a young politician? I mean, sometimes young politicians, when they get into it, they want to change the world, but the world is a hard place to change.
Absolutely. I was more, I suppose I was more cautious in my ambition because I know it's very, very difficult, you know, as you said, to change the world or even to change Malaysia. It would take a gargantuan effort to make things happen. But I thought I could make a small contribution in changing things by the leadership I could bring about in my constituency, in UMNO, in certain positions that I held, and in a junior ministerial positions that I held, and so forth. So I saw myself as moving gradually, step by step, rather than making an accelerated promotion, moving up the totem pole, as they say, in an accelerated way. I don't believe in that. I believe that a more measured rise is better than, you know, like something happening overnight, because it's like a shooting star. You can burn out very fast. And we've seen that.
If you could explain to us how your leadership style evolved from when you got into politics, from when you became a minister, from when you became a deputy prime minister, to actually becoming the Prime Minister of Malaysia, the sixth Prime Minister of Malaysia in 2009. I mean, leadership is never easy. Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right. It's subjective. But from an evolution and growth point of view, tell us about that journey.
It was a very exciting journey. But I understand. I've been studying about leadership personally, and there are very types of leadership. And to my mind, the apex of leadership is what I call transformational leadership. You know, it's a leadership that makes things happen, not for yourself, but for the people you lead, for the organization, and ultimately for the country if you're a political leader. So I always believe in that. And as you know, when I became Prime Minister, the overarching policy for Malaysia was a national transformation policy. That was it, because I like the term transformation, because it denotes not only change, but the ability to make things happen, to execute things, and to reach new heights, new levels, you see. So transformational leadership, to me, I mean, there are other types of leadership, like charismatic leadership. A lot of demagogues were very charismatic, but what did they achieve? I believe in transformational leadership.
Just as a subset to that question, it's interesting that you say the word transformation. And maybe you could give us some examples, some tangible examples or some intangible examples. What did you transform about your leadership style? Because when you go from, a head of branch to being a minister or deputy minister, to being a minister to a prime minister, your portfolio becomes bigger. More eyes are looking at you. More people are looking at you. So that leadership style from when you were 30, from when you were minister, like for example, Minister of Defense versus running the country is extremely different. So can you tell us about some of the transformations that you had to make yourself a better leader?
When you reach the highest level of government, you have to provide the direction for the country. It all starts with a vision. And what is your vision for the country? And then you've got to have a direction. You have to be quite specific, in terms of your goals, what you want to achieve for the country. And then once you've decided in terms of what you want to achieve for the country, then you come up with your plan. The more clarity you have with respect to your plan, the more that people will understand and the more that people will appreciate and come on board with you. And then eventually you have to execute. You have to have a team. You have to have a system that's able to execute and execute it well. And then ultimately you've got to have the feedbacks. You have to have somebody to be able to calibrate your results and tell you, hey, you have achieved this, hey, you have not achieved this. And if you remember, when I was Prime Minister, I interviewed ministers every quarter. I insisted on the report card. And every year I presented a report card to the nation. I felt I was responsible to the nation, and I wanted to tell the nation, these are the areas that we have achieved, and maybe one or two areas that we underachieved. But I felt incumbent upon me. I felt a sense of accountability that I wanted to tell the nation, look, these are the areas that we have achieved with respect to our national transformation plan, but also we still have a long way to go. Like, for example, how many roads we built, how many kampongs supplied with electricity, water supply, what about poverty and raising the level of income, and even the Gini coefficient of the country. Because I was concerned, in my heart, I wanted a more egalitarian society. I didn't believe that the rich should be super rich and the poor will be destitute, and the gap will be too big between the poor and the rich. I wanted to close that gap. I was concerned about that. So that was part of our philosophy, to have a more egalitarian, not equal. You can never have an equal society, but you can have a more egalitarian society.
In your view, what are the parallels of politics, corporate, or any other industry in terms of leadership?
Ability to deliver. I mean, at the end of the day, the bottom line. I mean, if you're in a corporate field, profit and loss, bottom line, but it's still about delivering. So in politics, it's about delivering, because governments that have failed, they forget that at the end of the day, they have to deliver. And as far as the people are concerned, what do they want? They want food on the table, as they say. They want a decent life. They want security. They want this. They want that. You see, they want a government that takes care of them. They want the government that inspires them. Things like that. So you have to realize that you, as a politician, you also have a bottom line. You also have to deliver. It's not about being in power. It's not about being in transactional politics or governance, just transacting things. That's all. But you don't have the direction, you don't have the vision, and you're not delivering. Because if you don't deliver, your tenure as a government will be short-lived.
And if someone were to follow in your footsteps leadership-wise, what would your advice to them be?
You learn much more when you are, like you say, struggling than when you are at the top, at the pinnacle. And it's important for you to have that resilience, to think that if you're down, you're not out again. I always relate this to boxing, that if you're down, you're not out. You're out when you refuse to get up again, you see. Nice. So you must have that spirit in you that you can there's still light. You have to see the light and you have to work towards it, It's not all total darkness.
That is Najib Tun Razak, 6th Prime Minister of Malaysia. In one sentence, or maybe two, describe your leadership style.
My leadership style would be, I would characterize it as a style of trying to get consensual type of leadership. I like, people to get on board and support whatever I did. So during my time, we had a lot of brainstorming sessions. We had a lot of get-togethers. So I wanted to feel that the entire cabinet and the government would be behind me in pursuing my vision for Malaysia.
Spaghetti, the marshmallows.